I need to say this carefully because what I'm about to share sounds harmless on the surface. But I learned the truth from inside the system, not from rumors or superstition. When I was involved in Satanism, colors were never fashion. They were signals. They were permissions. They were agreements made without words. Most people think New Year's Eve is just celebration, music, countdowns, clothes chosen for style or tradition. But in the occult, that night is not casual. It's a threshold, a spiritual reset point, a moment where doors are either sealed or quietly opened. I remember my first New Year's Eve after initiation. I asked why so much attention was placed on what people wore. The answer shocked me. We were told, because people consent without knowing they're consenting. Certain colors were assigned meanings: submission, mourning, invitation, alignment. When millions wore them unknowingly on the same night, it created a collective signal in the spirit realm. Let me be clear, the power was never in the fabric. It was in agreement. Color acted as a language, one most people didn't know they were speaking. I personally participated in rituals where we tracked cultural trends leading up to New Year's Eve. Which colors were being promoted? Which ones were being called lucky, powerful, or attracting success? Those narratives were not random. They were deliberate. Because when people believe a color will bring them something, they open themselves emotionally and spiritually to receive without discerning the source. And here's the part that still troubles me: believers were never exempt. Many loved God sincerely, yet unknowingly participated because they assumed intention didn't matter. But in the spirit realm, agreement always matters, even when it's unconscious. I'm not here to create fear. I'm here to expose a system that works precisely because it hides behind normalcy. This isn't about obsessing over colors. It's about understanding why certain doors open on specific nights and how easily access is granted when people don't know the language being used. If you've ever noticed strange heaviness, confusion, or recurring patterns starting after New Year's Eve, and you couldn't explain why, this message may finally connect the dots. Because once you understand how access is created, you also learn how to shut it down completely. One of the biggest misunderstandings people have is believing that symbolism only works when you believe in it. That is not how the spirit realm operates. Symbols work because they represent agreement, not because the person understands the meaning behind them. In satanic systems, colors were taught as a non-verbal contract. Each color carried an assignment, not power in itself, but direction. It told the spirit realm what kind of access was being permitted. Red was never just passion or celebration. It was linked to blood, sacrifice, and intensified emotion. Black was not simply elegance, it represented surrender, mourning, and silence, an agreement to conceal or submit. White, when used outside God's authority, symbolized false purity and counterfeit light. Gold represented covenants tied to prosperity at a cost. Silver symbolized exchange, something given to receive something else. These meanings were not guessed. They were taught carefully, repeatedly, and they were activated most effectively during calendar gates, especially New Year's Eve. Why? Because people are already declaring things, new beginnings, fresh starts. This year will be different. Words create expectation, and expectation creates openness. When color, emotion, and declaration align on the same night, a door forms. What made this system so effective was that people thought they were just participating in culture. But culture can be engineered, trends can be guided, and once a color becomes popular for a specific night, millions unknowingly make the same symbolic declaration at the same time. From the occult side, we understood this as amplification, not because each person was powerful, but because agreement multiplied. And again, believers were not immune. Many prayed before midnight, then unknowingly wore symbols that contradicted their prayers. I need to say this clearly: God is not threatened by colors. But alignment matters. If your heart is submitted to God, but your actions unknowingly align with something else, conflict is created. And conflict is where access forms. This is why some people felt spiritual disruption after New Year's Eve without doing anything wrong. They didn't sin, they participated without discernment. Once you understand that colors can function as language, you stop being afraid and start being intentional. And that's where real authority begins. To understand why colors mattered so much on New Year's Eve, you need to understand how the occult views time. In satanic systems, time is not neutral. Certain moments are treated as gates, windows where spiritual transitions are easier because people are already emotionally, mentally, and verbally shifting. New Year's Eve is one of the widest gates there is. People don't just change calendars that night. They renounce the old and announce the new. They say things like, I'm leaving this behind. I'm stepping into something better. This year, I claim. Those statements are powerful. They're declarations, and declarations create movement in the spirit realm, whether people believe that or not. From the inside, We knew this night was effective because people were already opening themselves willingly. No coercion needed, no fear required. Hope itself became the opening. When you combine that openness with symbolism, colors chosen for luck, power, love, wealth, or protection, you create alignment. And alignment, even when unconscious, functions like permission, not ownership, not possession, access. I remember being taught that the enemy doesn't need someone to worship him. He just needs them to agree without checking the source. Agreement is quieter than rebellion, but far more common. This is why so many people notice patterns starting right after New Year's Eve. Sudden anxiety, repeated obstacles, a strange heaviness in prayer, motivation fading, relationships shifting. They assumed it was coincidence or pressure from a new season, but often it was the result of an unguarded transition. Let me be very clear here. God does not abandon his people over ignorance, but ignorance can create unnecessary battles. And the enemy is always watching for moments when people lower discernment because they think something is harmless. New Year's Eve worked because it felt joyful, harmless, and universal. That made it spiritually loud. But here's the hope most people miss. What is opened through ignorance can be closed through understanding. Access is not permanent. Doors are not irreversible. Once alignment is corrected, authority is restored. And in the next part, I need to show you something even more important: how believers unknowingly cancel their own prayers by mixing spiritual language with symbolic contradiction, and how to realign without fear, superstition, or obsession. Because freedom doesn't come from knowing what to fear. It comes from knowing where you stand.